Academy VRS Super Series from Fuji International Raceway in Japan. I'm Tim Cox, joined by the absolutely legendary Sam Fitzpatrick, who's back alongside me for round two. Sam, a week on from Monza, it was drama-filled. What a way to kick-start the season. Fuji, is it going to be much of the same?
I think so. We've got the longest straights of the season. It's about a mile long, is this pit straight. It's absolutely epic. When we've had GT3 races around here, it's just been crazy. I mean, you've got trains of cars and you've got the third car in the train gets into the front of the pack by the end of the straight. It's a real game changer. And it's going to be, I think, more of the same, honestly, before we head to some more technical circuits this season.
I think you're not wrong indeed there, Sam. And let's take a look at the calendar right now. Of course, next week we are back in Japan at Okayama, a very different circuit that's going to be offering up to our drivers. And then Zandvoort, Kota, Nürburgring, and then my favourite doubleheader of the season, Sam, Long Beach and Interlagos. I'm really looking forward to those two before we round out the season in Zolder.
Yeah, there's, I mean, Long Beach is the one that stands out, I think, for lots of us. It can go very well for you at Long Beach. It can go very poorly for you. So we will see how the drivers fare at that one, but it's going to be a super tricky challenge. And of course, this is the kind of the format that we have for, or the format that we have for this season is going to be the heat racing once again, where we got the 10-minute heats, and then we go into the 14-minute B final, and then the 18-minute A final. And of course, a few of those drivers from the heats transferring themselves straight into the A final, the rest having to progress through the B final, and that will be the challenge for the drivers. Crucial that you get through those heats. I say every single week, Tim, but if you're in that top 10, just make sure you advance. That's all you need to do. Get into the A final. Then
Well,
you're going to get
you say
points.
that, Sam. We didn't quite see that last time out at Monza. Some drivers decided to, dice with a bit of death, and it didn't quite work out for them so much. So, big question, I suppose. Have they learnt from their mistakes?
Yeah, it's going to be a tricky one. We saw a couple of pro drivers, didn't we? I think Negretti was one of them who kind of got a bit caught up. That's a lot of points you're going to lose. Meanwhile, some of the amateur drivers, like Charney, for example, managing to get into the A final. Big points for the amateurs, but it's a lot of points lost for the pros in that scenario.
Oh, yeah, there was a few drivers as well that missed out narrowly, the likes of Russell as well. It came so close, and it's really, really open to be absolutely anyone's, really, isn't it? It's an interesting, format that provokes these interesting results for us and great entertainment for ourselves and obviously everyone at home.
Yeah, for Russell last week, he was 11th position, I think, in his heat, so he was 1 place short of getting into the A final. Then the B final just goes dreadfully for him. I think he has a crash. It was battling for 3rd position, if I recall correctly, which kind of sent him down the order. So that will be something that he will be obviously hoping not to do. But just if it was just 1 place higher up in that heat, you wonder what the A final could have been for him. So it really can hinge on those very close positions there.
I think it's probably a good chance now. Obviously, I know that we've only completed 1 round of the championship so far, but heading into tonight's race, time to take a little look at the championship standings. And well, pretty much as we were from last week, but SimRace Sweden Esports absolutely locking things out at the top right now, Sam, aren't they? I mean, they were dominant last week. It's whether they could continue that form across into Fuji.
Absolutely. Olsen looks... Well, it's difficult to tell who was faster between Arvidsson and Olsen, wasn't it? Because Olsen had that slowdown, I believe, at the start of the A final, which kind of ruined his chances of potentially winning that race. So he'll be looking to respond from that one. And then, of course, Jack Reeve, brilliant round from him in the Pro-Am. Really under the radar, I think, in the A final. We didn't really notice him because there was an amazing battle for 8th position down to about 15th. And then Reeve was just a couple of places clear of that. He was having the time of his life, just driving away from them whilst they battled, and scored a bunch of points. And then, also Boberg as well, of course, former champion. He's also got some good points in 2nd place as well.
There's some big names in there, isn't there, in that Pro-Am championship. It's going to be interesting to see how they get on for definite. And let's have a little look across to the AM championship now, where, I mean, we've touched on it already, haven't we, Sam? It was a real bumper day for a couple of our drivers out there. Charney, you mentioned being one of them. Griffin had a great round too as well. Yeah,
Griffin was my pick for the championship. I don't think it was looking good in the heat,
no,
I believe.
It was looking like a really poor choice, and cursing the commentators, Sam.
And then he managed to have a great B final and scored some good points. But Charney, we're like even. We're not biased or anything, but I could quite like Charney to do well. He's been in a lot of these seasons over the last couple of years. He's so enthusiastic when he's racing. It'd be cool to see him put a proper championship charge on this evening and put that out the season. I
definitely would be, and well, as Brits, who doesn't love a good underdog story? And it's great to see not having just 1 but 2 of our AM drivers progress into the final. Simon at Monza, but not quite all about slipstreams today as well. As much as it is, dominated by that start-finish straight, Sam. Once you get past there, it is a bit more technical, this circuit, compared to what Monza offered up last time out.
Yeah, before it was sort of just chicane straight. That's maybe a bit dismissive of Monza. It's one of the classic venues in the world.
It's not far off, but
it's very much a description. Yeah, of course, Fuji, you got that final sector really tight, twisty for the drivers to negotiate, but still opportunity to go for dive bombs, really wide corner entries. So we could see that come into play as well.
And we're racing without the second to last chicane as well here.
Yes, as well. So that should really speed up that final part of the circuit.
Well, I tell you what, it's going to be. Sure, some absolutely enthralling racing tonight, and we're going to head to a quick ad break now, and we'll see you then on the other side where we'll be getting straight into qualification.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, kit, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hello and welcome back, and just getting into qualification right now, and it's all about Sim Race Sweden Esports, isn't it, Sam? Dominating, and well, it's a sweet lockout across the top three with Sandstrom from Alcantech as well in amongst them. I'd say it might be the opposite side of the world, and slightly more warmer climates than what Sweden are normally used to experiencing, but they're really dominating here in Japan right now.
Yeah, they are looking extremely strong. It's going to be tricky to break them. However, I feel like of all the circuits, if you're third or fourth fastest, you still have a chance. If you can stay in that draft, then you could mix it around. But having a teammate by your side, that is quite helpful. You can sort of block the circuit a little bit. These F3 cars are fairly narrow, and this is a very wide circuit, but it does still help in the latter stages. So we can see if they manage to pull that off. And of course, you got the Alcantech drivers as well of Sandstrom, Rasmussen, and Schnabel. They're all up in the top 6 as well. So we've got a couple of sort of teammates able to work together, I think, tonight.
Definitely. It's, other than Wagner from Hardpoint, that top 7 absolutely dominated by Sim Race and Alcantech. Looking like a good race for Shazoo, well, say good qualification even from Shazoo's point of view, leading the way in Pro-Am with, well, his debut in the championship, shall we say, after not being in the previous round at Monza. Cockram currently lining 6th, so looking strong for them in qualification at the moment. Also, Alistair Hay currently lying in 10th. Looking like the dominant force right now. Big news though, Azagari and Svemstra, the 2 pro drivers, not the best of qualifying, 11th and 21st overall right now. But Eduard Popp, the German, he had a cracking qualifying last time out and some epic racing at Monza, and looks like he's carried this form over to today, Sam. A really, really strong qualifying from him. Yeah, beating quite a few Pro-Am drivers and 1 pro driver too.
Yeah, to be ahead of the likes of Vors and Boberg and, well, Alzagari, I think it's a little bit out of position. I expect him to be able to move up. I imagine he's not quite got a clean lap in yet. But no, he's looking extremely fast. Got a couple of cars between himself and the next driver. And so maybe we could see him advance through. Certainly if he maintains that position that he's going to be starting in the heat, he will be able to do that. Not too many drivers remaining who can set a lap time. We are getting into the final 10 seconds now. The drivers have to complete their final lap time. This man, Michael Griffin, he's racing along. He's trying to put everything into it. He's not going to reach the line though. This is such a long straight. It's about 1 kilometre, I believe, up to the start-to-finish line, let alone turn 1. And so Griffin didn't even get close to reaching the checkered flag right there.
Let's head across to our first heat of this evening with Arvidsson on pole with Sandstrom alongside him. It's Rasmussen and Martinsson making it your second row with Gandolfi, the Pro-Am driver, just out qualifying Svemstra there to make up your third row of the grid. Fourth row is Vestman and Glumsatter with Eduard Popp, your top AM qualifier. He's alongside Ricard Boberg to round out your top 10. And then it's Charlie and Griffin on row 6 with row 7. Matthew Brewer hoping for another great result here today. Dominic Arroyo joins him. And then Aaron Smith, bit disappointed by his qualifying, I'm sure. Cole McLean joins him to round out your 16 car grid here for Heat 1. For what I'm sure is going to be some absolutely epic racing. All about that run down to turn 1, Sam, and who's going to get the inside line and get ahead into the first corner.
Yes, yeah, if you can get a few places done nice and quick, that is certainly going to help you, particularly Aaron Smith, of course, he's starting actually from the pit lane for this race. Also, Cole McLean as well will also be starting from the pit lane. I'm not sure how much time that will mean that they will lose. I mean, sometimes we see it that they basically join onto the back of the field, and it's as though you basically just start from the back row of the grid. Or sometimes you can lose 5-10 seconds. So they'll be looking to race through. And it's very much a carbon copy of Aaron Smith because, of course, he stormed through the order in the B final last time at Monza. So he knows how to overtake people. We'll see if he can get up into that coveted top 10 position.
Well, not long to find out now. Just waiting for the last of the drivers to take to the grid, and then we'll be away racing for the first time this evening. What's going to be, I'm sure, plenty of slipstreaming and plenty of trepidation on these opening laps. Cold tyres playing a part. Some really tricky corners ahead. There's lots of switchbacks and swooping corners. Turn 6 is going to be an interesting one. The hairpin. Really, really tight, but here come the lights, and let's get ready to the road racing for the first time this evening in the Apex Racing Academy VRS Super Series, and we are away, and everyone getting away. Wow, they really, Arvidsson just squeezing everyone to the inside wall there, and that could have been an absolute disaster. He tried to squeeze out Sandstrom, but look at Gandolfi up the inside, trying to pick everyone's pocket, and it may just about work for him. He's picked up 3 places on the run down to the turn 1. And now he's from the outside, but even so, he's up 2 places, and he's absolutely hanging on for dear life as we head round Coca-Cola and into 100R for the first time this evening. Well, the Italian couldn't have asked for a much better start. Matthew Brewer, he's made up 3 places on the start, up into 10th as well, Sam. But Nicholas Rabson, you see right now in the Alcantech F3, absolute poor start. He's down 4 places. Well, actually made that 3. He's just going to get past Vestman possibly here, on the inside. But Sam, wow, what a start from Gandolfi.
That was insane. That was very much 2007 F1 vibes when we saw pretty much everyone miss the braking point and all of them run wide. That was remarkable that we didn't see more contact. It really looked like, I think it was going to be maybe Martinson initially going to hit maybe Sandstrom. But it didn't quite happen in the end, and yeah, Gandolfi was just able to profit from all of that. I know we wait to see what the gaps are across the lines. Half a second between the top 2, then it's another 6 tenths, then it's 2 tenths. And this is such a long straight that they should be all able to kind of close back in. But the draft spec isn't super strong in this Formula 3 car, so you do need to be reasonably close. As you see, Martinson getting back past Gandolfi, he's starting to drop down the order a little bit more.
Time out, Sam, as we race all the way down to turn 1 for the second time this evening. Slipstreams, we've mentioned so many times, so crucial here. It's all about just getting inside these automatic promotion spots, and well, after that initial hectic start, it's all started to calm down, but crucially, we have got one of the AM drivers in the form of Brewer in an automatic qualification spot, currently lying in 10th place right now. Great result for him if he can keep hold of that position, but Edouard Pop is hot on his heels. Only 7 tenths behind Vestman. You see him right now pretty much just train all the way from Gandolfi. But just all doesn't end until, well, most of the field realistically, Sam. They're still really nip and tuck right now. You see Vestman just trying to find a way past, and a lot of the drivers potentially just waiting that start-finish straight, get the great run out of Panasonic corner, and then just launch it into turn 1.
Yes, yeah, I think we're currently seeing a replay of our race starts as well with, yeah, Gandolfi's brilliant move up the inside of several of the drivers, and Arvidsson, though, crucially being able to stay ahead of all of it. Arvidsson now with a 4 tenths of a second advantage, but I think you're certainly right, Tim, when it comes to that start-finish line. You don't necessarily want to make the move before the start-finish line, particularly the final corner. There's no point. You're just going to be at a disadvantage, if anything. So that is something that the drivers are going to have to think about, as we've got Wesman now super close to the back of Zwemstra, trying to move up into P6 as it stands. And Wesman, really good pace. The Pro-Am driver up there in 6th place. He's still behind Gandolfi, the top of the Pro-Ams. But dare I say, I think Wesman looks a little bit faster right now. On that last lap, certainly, he was 2 tenths of a second quicker.
I'll tell you about Gandolfi, after that absolutely blistering start and making up some free positions initially, just starting to move back down the field right now, but he knows he just needs to hold on, doesn't need to take any risks, and for him it's all about that, trying to get into the final on the top 10 to get straight in, not have to worry about the B final at all. Range of, I'll tell you what, Vestman, definitely a man in the move. Fastest in the first sector, as you just see Brewer right now under a whole world of pressure from Pop and Griffin. These 3 AM drivers scrapping out of the last of the qualification places. And they're currently 4 minutes out of the 10 completed. Arvidsson leads from Sandstrom, Martinson, Rasmussen in 4th. Then it's Gandolfi. He's also a leader in the Pro-Am category. Vestman. Oh, I like something's happened to Gandolfi. I think he's dropped a couple of places right now.
Looking for the
ball with him.
Or is that how the front wing usually is? I'm having a panic attack now here, Tim. Is that how the... No, that is definitely damage. He's coming into the pits. It looks all curved in the wrong way, and he is gingerly entering the pit lane. Huge shame for the man who briefly was up in second position.
It's all gone wrong for Gandolfi after a flying start, looking like one of our easy automatic qualifiers now into the pits, but it's shuffled everyone up one. There's Vesper and Svenstra at it, Hammer and Song right now side by side, and well, that's about a close place to do it. Not somewhere you want to be. That was Svenstra just across the curves there, bouncing around, kept hold of it, but did run wide there, Sam, into Coca-Cola. And is it going to cost him? I do wonder. And clearly feeling a bit vulnerable. As we're just going to see a replay right now, I believe, of what happened to Gandolfi. As I said, some cracking start from him. All looks good right now, but I get the feeling maybe going to lose the rear into the corner.
I think he may have already hit the sausage curve maybe on the corner previous, and that mucked up the car, I think, because you can see over those next couple of corners he was really sort of struggling. So yeah, I think it was just one of those sausage curves, hits one of them, and again, I'm not 100% sure if it was the front wing that broke, but it must have been the steering as well. Wow, that's Westman now over one of those curves. So, I mean, that seemed even worse than what we saw previously with Gandolfi. So, and Westman's now going to have to come into the pits as well. So I think he's just got the damage that we were talking about.
I'll tell you what, something's happened to Arroyo and Charlie. I think they've had a bit of a coming together out on the circuit as well. Charlie's been in the pits for the last couple of laps, so he's clearly the one who's come off far worse from all of that. Contact has clearly been made by the pair of them right now, but wow, this has really shuffled things up. Last time at the Monza we had two AM drivers in the final. As things stand right now, three are gonna, from heat one alone, are gonna be claiming automatic qualification spots. Brewer, Pop, Griffin, 8th, 9th and 10th right now, with Brewer being your biggest climber up everyone in the race. He's at 5 places into 8th, and I know Smith, he started from the back, but he's got his work cut out right now, Sam. The clock is ticking down, 3 minutes left on the clock, as let's see exactly what happened to Vestman. I believe it's going to be this. Well, let's find out. Sam, these sausage curbs again. Yep, there you go. A good clatter of one. Front wing damage, and I think hopefully quite a few of the guys who are racing in Heat 2 are watching this, and they're going to learn from that.
Yeah, and I'm surprised a lot of them haven't learnt that from the official series as well, which has been at this circuit for about 5 days so far. Didn't hit the curves, but he absolutely annihilated that one. That one wasn't even close. He was all over it. As talking about all over something, Sandström is right on the tail of Arvidsson right now. This is Sim Race Sweden versus Alcantech NHR, but the second place man, he's waiting behind, because Arvidsson knows, worst case scenario, he can have a battle, get Martinsson involved, make it 2v1. So, if anything, Sandström is the one who doesn't want to fight here. He wants to leave it till the last lap of the race. And personally, Tim, I really like this sort of racing. As we've also got Smith just moving up to 11th place. I think you mentioned before Smith's pace is very good. I think he's going to be catching... Oh, no, he's got 7 seconds to catch up to Griffin. And he is currently a 2.5 a lap faster. So he's going to be short. He's going to need something to happen as Smith, albeit he will get pole position for the B final, which is, well, he's got another pit lane start to serve, so there won't be much of a comfort for him. That one, he'll be starting from the back 3 races in a row, it looks like, or 4 races in a row going back to the previous race. But yeah, that Arvidsson-Sandström battle really close, but Sandström, I think, driving very smart right now.
Said time and time again, it's all about just getting yourself through, rather than necessarily winning your heat as much as it does carry that kudos and that momentum that's going to carry through you into the next race. But long left, we've got just 1 minute 20 left on the clock right now. And who is going to come out on top here? Who's going to make their way through? And Smith, well, as you said, Sam, looking unlikely. Another one of our disappointed Pro-Am drivers. Only 2 of them, Glancer and Boba, going to make their way through. Gandolfi, Vestman, both into the pits, suffering with damage. And, well, suffering the pain of having to
change the lead
through.
So, change to the lead there. Sandström has decided, hasn't managed, he's decided to go ahead right at the last. This is going to be a run to the line if I've ever seen one. But for now, they do want to get that jack position. It seems like you do want to be ahead coming out of the final corner. And Sandstrom leads this race for the first time in the event. Martinson's still 1.4 seconds back. He's still not going to get involved, even with defensive driving like this. As look how slow he is on the inside there. Sandstrom, he's desperate to hold on. Now, of course, usually this would be a fantastic overtaking opportunity going into the chicane, but we're using the alternate layout. I don't think you can go around the outside here, particularly with how tricky we're seeing the curb speed. I don't think it's going to be a little bit too risky. There's contact on corner entry right there. They still keep going. Martinson is getting quicker, but I think Arvidsson from here on in just needs to get that perfect run out to the final corner in order to overtake.
Let's find out. There's only 2 seconds separating the pair of them. It's the final lap, the final chance. It's going to see a dash for the line side by side. Buckle up, everyone, because here we go. They come out of Panasonic. It's the run to the line. Has Arvidsson got enough left in the tank to make the move? Sandstrom feels vulnerable. You can see him weaving, trying to break the slipstream as deft as he can. But here we go, and Arvidsson, he's just ahead of Sandstrom by 2 thousandths of a second at the line, Sam. What a finish.
Wow, what an effort. He timed that one perfectly. Credit to Arvidsson. He was cool as anything right there. He could have so easily gone up the inside into the final corner because Sandstrom left the door open. He was looking to get the good exit. Arvidsson, though, had the patience. He knew there's no point in going up the inside now. I need to get the run out to the corner, and that's what he did. And he just about had enough tarmac in order to get it done before the start-finish line. Of course, that's not, the biggest win. They'll both be in the A final. I'm sure that battle will be renewed, but that one must be super satisfying there for Arvidsson because that was done on tactics, not necessarily on pace.
Wow, so what a finish. We've seen some close finishes here at Apex Racing TV. That is up amongst them. And Sam, this is only Heat 1. We've still got 3 more races left. And what a way to kick things off here in Japan with a casual finish for the victory by 2 thousandths of a second. Can we go one better and 1,000th of a second at the line?
Well, I don't want to shortchange the audience here because that might be the best finish we have all evening. But unfortunately, the final 2 races are a little bit longer, and so I think we're going to have those types of battles for even longer, and we're going to have even more drivers, particularly in the A final. Imagine basically 5 drivers going at it like those top 2 were for 18 minutes. That's, I think, what the A final is going to be. But we are jumping ahead. This is the Heat 2. Olsen, once again, on pole position for a Heat 2. He's ahead of Wagner. There's Lennart Schnabel. Darren Rawlinson is top of the Pro-Ams for this one. There's Hay, Reeve, championship leader, remember, in the Pro-Ams. Cockram in his debut. Paliku, Grant, Brian Vorse, and Nick Horvath, who was very strong last time out. Didn't turn out well for him, Tim, at Monza, but Horvath has been very quick since he's joined the series. Hosu Elzagari expects him to move up. I think he is much faster than that. I think he might get into the top 5 by the end. Then it's Chuck Murray, Simon Vamampere, Jose Arroyo, and Seb Gravland rounding out the 15 cars.
Everyone's on the grid here, Sam, as we get ready to go racing once again. And we are green and we are away here. And Olsen, look at the start. He's got, there's contact in the background. Someone straight into the wall. 3 cars caught up on top of one another. Reparo, Vorse, and I think El Ghazari all involved in that one early on. We haven't even got across the start-finish line. It's all the going close once again as Olsen, Wagner and Schnabel are all over each other like a rash right now as we head round Coca-Cola. Olsen just about holds on, but look at Reeve storming through, says thank you very much, Schnabel. You've left a gap. I'm taking that position from you. And now Rawlinson is all over the back and he wants to inflict more pain onto Schnabel. It's Schnabel sneaks back up the inside there of Reeve, and the Pro-Am drivers are really taking it here to the pros. They're not making their lives comfortable whatsoever as there's 2 wides in the background, but Reeve is in full attack mode, engaged on the back of Schnabel right now. It's all a half spin in the background there. I'm not sure who that was. It might have been Cochran potentially. Nearly ended up spearing another driver, but got away with that one there. There's the Shizou driver. Oh, wow, we haven't even completed 1 lap yet, Sam, and they're still all going at it, and this could go anyway. It's been dicing with death this race. Just having a look, Graveland has managed to get back out of the pits despite having to jump straight to there, getting caught up in that start line action. But here comes the slipstream out of Panasonic. The run down to turn 1. Cockram is vulnerable from Arroyo, who pulls out, goes right, but Cockram's going to pick up the slipstream from Alzari ahead of them. And now we've got a freeway battle as the free wide in the foreground, free wide in the background. Take your pick. Well, who's going to put him off in front as Cockram storms through for the double overtake there? A great move there for the Brit.
And Hay, meanwhile, was able to come out on top in that certainly further up battle. That's a strong line as well from Mary. He's a little bit slow on the exit as they run through 100R now. And it's so easy to sort of go a little bit faster through the exit of 100R and getting the inside for the hairpin into T6, which is probably the most similar part of the circuit as it used to be. As I think we have a replay of the race start as well available for us to have a look at. And just the craziness, I saw one of the drivers didn't get off the line, and well, that was the result of that.
Yeah, not quite as dramatic as what it looked from the front end. It was a relatively simple accident, but large consequences for 3 of our drivers, Vos and Ramapario even having to go straight to the pits. Likewise with Graveland. Graveland's come back out again. We haven't seen the former 2, Vos and Ramapario. There's Olsen leading third of the race, nearly complete. Wagner in second, Schnabel third, Reeve on the charge once again up 2 places already into 4th, Rolandson 5th. That's Hay, Grant, Algazari. That was an automatic qualification place as the pro driver. Cockram 9th, Hovarth running out the top 10 as that is Rolandson and Reeve. Well, trading places and then swapping back around once again. That's Algazari. He is around, and that looked like Cockram as well with him.
Yes, it was. Yeah, so that was messy, wasn't it? And I think we got a replay of that instant as well. Sort of just saw it in the background, but I imagine just one car's maybe gone in a little bit too deep. It was Cockram ahead then. Alzugari, oh no! So that was how Cockram, no, so it was Cockram going into the back of Alzugari, so he was having his own battle then. That was Horvath. He was originally up his inside, and then, yeah, making contact with the Spaniard, who is not having a good day of it. Still in the top 10, however, Cockram now drops out of the top 10, and with about 7 seconds to catch as well, if he's got damage, then that's going to be near impossible. I think he does have damage. That front wing doesn't look right to me, Tim.
No, he does not look happy at all, indeed. And I'll tell you what, so much so, he's well off the pack. 5.5 minutes, in fact, left in Heat 2. And that is a tall order of nearly 9 seconds now to try and make up and get inside these automatic qualification spots. As you see Olsen coming across the line, new fastest lap of the heat from Schnabel, who's in third. The back Marco's coming out. That's Chuck Sorrow, and that's not exactly making, wow, Schnabel's life very comfortable. That would have been a bit of a twitching moment there from Schnabel.
Well, everyone didn't have many races around this circuit, but that's just reminded me of the Massa Bourdais red carpets incident from about 14 years ago. It's made me feel very old, but that was yeah, that could have been bad there. And of course, it's such a wide circuit that you really don't know where the other drivers are on that scenario. Sam,
just to cut across you, Alzugari and Cockram have both come into the pits. Alzugari's got back out again, but Graveland now finds himself up into 11th. But I think a bit too far. Actually, no, he's only 4 seconds behind Alzugari, and he was one of the obviously the drivers caught up in that start line incident. He got straight back out, straight back on it, and now has, I mean, it's a slim chance, but he's in with half a chance of getting inside the automatic top 10 qualification places, despite being down and out and looking like it was his race was over before it even begun.
Exactly, yeah. Alzugari, I think, has got decent pace. So Alzugari on that lap was 0.3 of a second quicker. But maybe he went down the pits, Alzugari. It's not coming up on my screen at least, but he's so far behind, and that damage he got earlier on did seem fairly bad. So, yeah, it would be a miracle if Graveland could get through in this one, because I thought he was going to have to tail on that first lap when he had that early incident. There's Reeve still leading the Pro-Am category. He's losing time to Rolandson, but with the time that's remaining, I think Reynolds mainly have about one attempt maybe on the final lap to go for a move, but they can see the gap's not changing too much. And I've just been looking at the gaps a little bit, Tim, down that French straight. I think if you're more than about 0.6 of a second clear of the car ahead, you're actually all right. The draft effect doesn't really kick in until about half a second behind. So even from this distance back, Rowlandson, he's not necessarily going to cruise up to Eve. He needs to get maybe 1/10 of a second closer, and then the overtake will become very possible.
Running ball with Rowlandson right now. That is Reeve ahead of us. He's, wow, definitely staking a claim in that Pro-Am Championship. Definitely the man to watch if anything is showing from last week at Monza. So far in Heat 2 from Fuji. And just needs to hold on because we have got 2 minutes 45 left on the clock in Heat 2. Olsen, well out in front of Wagner and Schnabel, the pro drivers pulling away. Pro-Am, Reeve being caught ever so slightly right now by Rowlandson. He still needs to really pull together a good decent lap. Hey, a second down for them. Then it's Grant, Hovaf, Arroyo. 2 more AMs stand to qualify automatically. But here goes Rowlandson and Reeve side by side. The 2 Brits on the run down to turn 1. Who's going to come out on top? Well, it's Reeve. He reclaims his 4th place from Rowlandson, who does not make it comfortable on the exit. So head down towards Coca-Cola, the swooping left-hander. Then it's turn 3. And Reeve is ahead, and Rowlandson has the door slammed on his face. And well, do you think Rowlandson is going to line this up for a lunge out of Panasonic? The final corner, Sam, the carbon copy is, oh, that is close. That is very close. For a carbon copy of what we saw in race 1 for the victory.
Maybe so, but the issue with all this fighting is going to be involving Hay, and Hay's well within the slipstream. He's going to cruise up to these guys, especially if they keep on putting each other offline, as they are right now. That's so close to the back. That must have been some braking mid-corner for Rowlandson in order to avoid contact with Reeve, who was much slower than what he expected. And everybody's getting underneath. I think Reeve's got a slowdown right there. He's having to really let some time escape him right now. Has he now served it all, or is he still serving a bit more of it? He is now 0.6 of a second behind, so he's not going to be getting much of a draft from Rowlandson, albeit Rowlandson's not had the best final corner of all time. And Hay is now in this one, and Grant as well for P7, having quite a boring race. He can see P4 just up the road.
Well, here we go. Can Hay get the move done over Reeve, who had that amazing start? Hay's on the inside, but look at Grant coming through like a freight train right now. We go 3 wide on the run down to turn 1, and Grant is going to pick both of them up as Hay and Reeve bang wheels. Reeve gets shoved off wide. Wow, he's gone from 4th down to 6th, possibly even 7th. Hay down into 7th, but Grant is the person who benefited from it the most. Picked up 2 places on the run to turn 1. The American is going to be ecstatic with that, surely, Sam. And it's on to the final lap as well. So that was the move to make at the right time for Grant.
That was absolutely epic stuff, and what a turn of fortune for Reeve, who is now being overtaken by Hay as well. So Hay originally making that move through contact. Now it looks like he's going to be able to make it legitimately. Legitimately. It seems like Reeve does have a bit of damage. He's being able to fend back, but I'm surprised how much he's struggling in these closing stages as they're going to fight another F1 reference, Kubica Massa style, all the way to the finish line. But I don't think it's going to be quite as close for the race win as we saw in race 1.
Let's find out as Roy's made his way past Hovaf at the depth, but the checker flag is out. Olsen is going to claim the victory. Schnabel getting past Wagner there right at the end. Great move from the German. As Rowlandson's going to pick up 4th, Grant 5th. Reeve, can he hold on from Hay? It's going to be close across the line, but I think he's going to do it. Yes, he is. He's got that by a good couple of attempts. Arroyo there in 8th. And as things stand, Sam, that is 2 more AM drivers to join the 3 from Heat 1. That means 5 have qualified automatically for the final. That is an amazing result.
I think there's only 8 of them around as well. So the majority of them have got into the A final. It's not meant to be like this, but they've just been able to drive very consistent, very solid races, particularly Roy and Horvath there. We barely saw them out there, which is always a positive sign. As the guys somehow manages to get up into top 10. Well, frankly, if Graveland had got in, that would have been even more of a miracle. But their pace was fairly even towards the end of that race, the gap maintaining at around 5 seconds. And so Graveland will have to go through the B final if he wants to take a slot in that final race of the evening. As this one ends, everyone bar Vos is across the line. It was Vos, by the way, who had that initial incident, I think, off the line. He just did not get away, and that caused Ramampere and Graveland to go into the back of him. So hopefully Vos doesn't have quite an issue this time. Arguably, the good news is that he'll be starting last in the B final, Tim, so he won't have to worry about that.
I was just going to show Sam why you should, you know, despite whatever happens, get back out there, because, well, in Graveland's case, it's got him onto the front row of the grid, joined by Aaron Smith. Those two drivers both finishing 11th in their respective heats. Arroyo and Mauro make up the second row of the grid with Cole McLean and Simon Romapario making up the third row of the grid. Gandolfi going to be disappointed, looking for redemption. Great start in Heat 1. All came apart for him. He didn't make the final automatically. He has to go again. Cochran lines up him on row 4. Nicholas Vestman has Brian Vos for company on the 5th row and running out your top 7 in the less complete row with Charney running out your 11-car grid in the B final. Let's wait for the last few drivers to take the grid before we will be seeing the green flag with Brave Racing.
Smith has got a pit lane start.
He has, hasn't he?
And I think Graveland might be signed from the pits as well. So it's Bovoye on pole position.
Wow. Here we go, as here come the lights, and let's get ready to go racing in Japan once again as we're green and we are away. And who's going to get ahead in that race down to turn 1? Well, they're all having a go at it. They all want a piece of the pie, as we've got nearly 2 lots of free wide, but darting up the inside. Wow, and that was nearly the move for the century there, as Mauro tried to make his way through. There's contact in the background. I'm not sure who's been involved in that. Cochran off the track, as that's an incredibly broken car. Here comes Smith and Graveland having to start from the pits, but McLean, he is out as the Canadian, and that's looking like the end of his evening. But Chuck Mauro, well, he went for it. Him and Gandolfi, they chucked it into turn 1, and it was an absolute dream for them. Vos, he's up an incredible 6 places into 4th. Wow, Sam, what a turn 1.
There's pretty much no continuity to the starting grid right now. It's just completely mixed about. Antonio Roy not getting away too well. I think everyone who was on the outside going to turn 1 was going to have a rough time when they had 5 cars diving up there inside. As Gandolfi is under huge pressure from Ramampere. There goes Graveland. So both Graveland and Smith had pit lane starts to serve after incidents in the previous round. And so that is why they started from the pits. They've got some work to do. As Mauro is round, oh dear me, he'd done all the hard work. And I think we may have a change for the lead once again, because Ramampere is very close to Gandolfi. He should be alongside by the time they get to turn 1.
Here we go across the start line. We haven't even fully completed the lap yet, as Weaving is the Italian to try and break that slipstream from the Norwegian, but it might be all in vain, because here comes Romapario on the inside onto the brakes, and he is ahead. But Gandolfi looking for the switchback, trying to fight back here. He pulls back alongside as we race down through turn 2 towards Coca-Cola, the right-hander. Gandolfi's going to be on the outside. Can he make it stick? No, he has to tuck it back in once again. But Vos is right on their tail. Mauro is tucked up right behind them, and this is a 4-way fight for the lead here in Fuji. And that is not going to go anywhere soon, but they need to be careful this top 4. They need to work together, because Vestman isn't too far down the road, and only the top 4 qualify automatically. Sam, I mean, as great the racing is, surely these 4 just need to stop, think about what they're doing, and work together to keep that gap to Vestman.
Yeah, because I think anyone from the top 8 could get through. Even Charney is only 6 seconds off the lead right now. 5.7 in fact, as I look at the timing tower. And so they've got to be careful not to get too kind of obsessed with one another, as you're saying, Tim. As then we've got a replay of Mauro off the race start. So it could have been, so Mauro ended up at the front of this one. I mean, pick this one out. You see the car on the inside just diving way too late. Barely got it stopped for the corner, and, well, there was some great effort there. Murray just went underneath all of them.
So thank you very much. I'll have some of that. Headed up the inside and got the move done. But they're all at it once again. Gandolfi, Romapario for the lead, and Romapario keeps hold of it. But Maro making his way past Force in the battle for third place right now. But I tell you what, Smith, despite starting from the pit, Sam, he's already up into fifth, and he is catching the guys ahead of them. Last time around, he was, well, 1.3 seconds on average quicker than any of the drivers, 4 drivers in front of him. He's a real danger driver to watch right now, and all this battling, all this dueling, they could end up risking it and losing a place to qualify just because they were battling, and it's allowed Smith just to walk straight up to the back of them. That is how big the gap is. And the thing is, he's bringing investment along for the ride as well. But I can tell you, the gap between Force and Smith has come down now to only 7 tenths. What was a 4-way fight for the lead is now turned into a 6-way fight.
And I always underestimate just how long these B-finals are. You've got 14 minutes, and so it's plenty of time for Smith. He needs to make sure, oh, we've got a spin round. That's Gandolfi from second position. Fortunately, he spins off the circuit rather than onto the racing line. But Gandolfi, don't rule him out by any means, but he's just made his life a whole lot worse. He's down into 8th position, and the man who was up in second position it has really gone downhill for him, as Murray is alongside Force right now. So that is Force up into second position now, 8 places from his starts. But this is what we were talking about before. Even if you make the move, the other driver can come back because the straight is that long, and it's Murray who ends up in second position. Look at Smith getting the draft on the pair of them. Inside line now for Force, who started from last position in this race. Brilliant pace though, carried by his fellow countryman, and he is ahead with Smith. Just thinking, how can I get past these guys, and how can I catch up to Romapario as well?
Well, Romapario walking away from them, well, I was going to say 2.5 seconds, now up to 2 3/4 seconds as Smith. He is past Vorse. He is up into third right now, and Marro starting to pull away, but it's all about this duel for third place. Vorse. This is Smith. Smith has to step back in again. He looks for a move right around the outside, but he's run wide. That's allowed Vestman up into fourth. And it seems like nobody wants third place right now as they all swap, change with one another and fall by the wayside, and then they have to come back yet again. But I mean, Smith, as much as he looks down and out a little bit right now, he's not far behind any half a second, Sam. And the rate he's been going at prior in the race, I definitely think he's still well within the chance. And as you said, still plenty of time left on the clock. I mean, we've got 8 minutes left of racing.
Yeah, he's got plenty of time. It's such a low percentage move, it's becoming clear to go around the outside at Dunlop Corner with this configuration of the circuit. You just got to back out beforehand. It's not even worth trying at that point, because the other driver's always going to run you off the circuit, and you're just risking contact. As now we have Vesman get past Force as well. Force is a little bit unsettled on corner turn in, and Vestman is up to third position. If he can just stay ahead going into Coca-Cola, then he should have a few corners where he can start to stretch his legs slightly. And Vos, who has run pretty much this entire race in the top 4, I feel like he may be about to fall out of it, because look at Smith just gaining tenths of a second every corner right now.
Now he is absolutely all over the back of Vos. Well, he's going to have the slipstream of Vestman ahead of him. That might just be his saving grace right now, in his ability to stay in this top 4. Half race distance, Romapario leads. That gap is growing even further, 3.2 seconds now to Mauro, Vestman, Force, Smith, Gandolfi, Arroyo, Charney, Gravland, McLean. Obviously, retirement being Cochran from earlier on. And let's go see a replay right now. Let's see what this is.
This was Gandolfi spinning from second position coming out of the final corner. I think, did Gandolfi hit the curb at the final corner earlier on, if I recall correctly? I think he was one of the drivers who kind of hit too much curb, and that ruined his heat. And he sort of done the same thing there. So he's not like it. Well, he didn't do the same thing, but he still had an issue at the same corner at least. Smith is the next one to get past Brian Force. He's up to 4th position now is Aaron Smith. They are teammates for Hardpoint Delta Sports Academy. and so that one probably wasn't too hard. And let's see if Smith can chase down Vesman. That's now a very competitive top 4. I mean, considering that Maro has had his own issues in this race, he has done extremely well to be still up there. Smith starts to pull away just ahead. Quick shout out, by the way, to one of our sponsors, SDK Gaming, for sponsoring this broadcast. SDK Gaming providing some great prizes for the top drivers and teams in this series, and of course they provide our brilliant overlay you can see up on screen. If you want to have a similar overlay, if you want to sync your broadcasters' cameras to your commentators' cameras, have live timing, have a live HUD as well for whilst you're racing, do check out sdk-game.co.uk in order for you to get a 14-day free trial, as we cut to Chuck Murray, who I think has just made a bit of a mistake too.
He has, and it's dragging him now into this battle with Vesman. Smith, Vos still just about holding on to the tail end of it as well. Don't discredit Gandolfi. I mean, we've still got plenty of racing left to go. A good 5 minutes. Just going to give the drivers about another 3, maybe 4 laps here. And Vesman, well, you can see the power of the slipstream. Here comes Smith. Zooms up behind him, zooms out. And gets the move done, but this is not done and dusted, because Vesman could come straight back at him if he's good enough, but decides against it, plays the cautionary move, tucks back in, and Sam, I think that might have been the wiser move. These two need to work together to get on their bike, get ahead, and get ahead of Maro to make themselves even more secure rather than dangling by a thread at the rear of that qualification group.
Exactly. There's no points available for the B final, as long as you progress. The drivers who don't progress will score points, but if you get through, then you just score points for your A final result. And so a position doesn't really matter anything besides a position further up on the grid. So it's certainly wise for Vesman to make, or let Smith basically chase past or chase after Mary. Maybe they'll have a little bit of an instant ahead, and maybe Vesman can take advantage of that, but it certainly wasn't worth it, and Vos will be a little bit annoyed with that one. He'll be regretting that they weren't able to fight a little bit more. Also Gandolfi, because after that's been just at the fastest lap of the race, he is catching these guys. We've still got 4 minutes to go. Do not rule out Alberto Gandolfi if he can clear Vos very quickly.
So we've got some 3.5 minutes left of racing to find the way past, and here's the slipstream train for second place. Maro, Smith, Vesman. Smith pulls out, he comes to the left hand side, Vesman follows him through and nearly then tries to cut back across. They're absolutely bullying Maro right now. We're going to go 3 wide into turn 1. Everyone breathe in, everyone try and make it through. The last thing you want is a big incident here right now, so close to the end of the race when you're you're home and dry. You're going to be through surely, but no, they want to have an absolute go at it here as Vesman still at the rear of this group. Smith making his way past Maro, and then everything just settling it down once again, and that could have been even worse for Mario. I mean, I thought Vesman would have made it past 2 as well, Sam, but Vos has been able to catch up to the back of this group. He's only 8 tenths behind, who has what's just over a second behind him. You can just see in the background is Gandolfi. Oh, Sam, this is getting a little bit treacherous for these 3, Smith, Maro and Vesman, because I tell you what, Gandolfi and Vos are closing in on them, and they can now see they can almost touch this qualification places.
And Gandolfi made a mistake in that final sector as well. I think we were watching him as he ran very wide at the final corner the previous time round, once again having more problems with that corner. This time he seems to have hooked it up a bit better. No, he's too wide, and he's having to take a super tight line in order to avoid that. Kirby just cannot nail that corner right now. Gandolfi, and I genuinely think that is going to be the difference between him getting through in this race, because everywhere else on the circuit he's absolutely flying along. Wesman versus Murray. This is so tricky for Wesman. What do you do in this scenario? He wants to get past. He doesn't want to get held up and drop into the clutches of Vos, so he's got to go for it, but at the same time, don't lose too much time. It seems as though they're going to play this one very coolly between the two of them. Wesman moves up into 3rd position, and now Murray will basically be telling him, hurry up and I'll stay in your draft and maybe get that 4th position. Vos isn't as fast as these guys. Remember, he was ahead of these guys at one point. He fell behind them, and so I'm not sure if Vos has got the pace to keep up. Maybe Gandolfi could still make a difference. We're going to have 1 more lap to go after this.
It's going to be tight. It's going to provide 1 more set of opportunities to get their way past and get their way through. Who is going to make it? It's big gains and big losses in this B final. With only Malroy remaining where he started. Everyone else has moved around quite a few places. Ramapario looking comfortable right now, just needs to bring it home, but what could Gandolfi do? He needs to dispatch a force as quick as possible so they can get after, well, Vestman and Mauro, because Smith is really starting to check out. He's pulled out a 1.2 second, nearly 1.3 second advantage over the third and fourth place drivers. Here goes Gandolfi down the start-finish straight and hoping that someone in front of him will pull out. We ride on board with the Italian. And surely this is going to be a fire up the inside as Vorst doesn't defend, but does he have the force to bring back alongside? Can he get the move done? As Mauro, you can see, getting absolutely...
Westman's gone straight on. I think Westman's had like a throttle failure or something, because we suddenly heard, maybe the audience may have heard as well, he was full throttle into the wall. What was going on there with Vesman? Sure, we'll get a replay of it. That's a huge shame though for the Finnish driver. It means then Gandolfi is on course to qualify.
The forces are as well.
Oh, so they're both going to go through. What happened?
Well, there's something I didn't quite catch. What happened to Vorst? I was engrossed in what happened to Vestman.
It must have been, links, surely.
Well, it's surely got to have been, but it does mean now, Sam, Gandolfi is through, well, if he can hold on, I mean, he's got a nice big time. He doesn't need to push like he currently is.
Calm down.
He can do this, Sam. He can do this, and from being in a down and out position, he might just sneak that last place through. I mean, Charney is some, 5.5 seconds down the road. Alberto Gandolfi just needs to calm down and bring it home, not hit any of the curbs. I think he just clattered one there, but Ramapario, he's going to take the victory. He'll look back at this race and wonder what the hell happened behind him. Smith picking up second, Mauro third, Gandolfi.
Oh, he's broken as well. You can hear the car clattering along. Thank goodness he didn't need to do another lap, because it's just that final corner again. Charney, championship leader in the ANS, was unable to get through. He really struggled for pace throughout, as I think we've got a replay of what on earth happened at turn 1 on that final lap. This is on board with Vesman, I believe. Oh, so that was just going straight through there. Oh no, and then the session transfers over, so that's a little bit of a pain. But yeah, it was clearly a throttle being stuck there for Vesman. That's what we saw initially, and then Mauri with a separate issue.
Wow. We wondered if there might be a bit of drama, didn't we, Sam? Coming here to Fuji after what we saw last week at Monza. And it has not failed to deliver whatsoever. We've had drama right from the start to the end in both heats. First heat, the win separated by 0.002. That's 0.002 of a second. And then we've seen drivers who look down and out in the B final make their way through despite, poor sessions in and bad luck in Heat 2, which was fraught with its own, drama as well. What could the final bring?
Yeah, I mean, I've done a fair few of these broadcasts over the last few seasons, and the first thing that you learn is that even if a driver has an absolutely miserable race, do not count them out. They could always be able to make it back through, so we'll see if that is the case as well in the A final. We're going to take a very quick little ad break before we go to the grid for the A final coming up in just a few moments.
And welcome back to Fuji, and thank you very much for kind commercial messages there from Apex Racing Academy with their 29 data packs, setups, track guides, integration with VRS for this virtual racing school. They have weekly group coaching sessions and much more. Make sure you check them out. Just like we're about to check out the final, Sam, and I think the one thing we can predict, if we've learned anything from both the heats and the B final, is that we can't predict anything.
Yes, it makes our job a lot more fun, but a lot more tricky when it comes to predicting a race winner. I think all I'm hoping for, Tim, when it comes to these races, we don't really who wins. I just want to see a good fight for that race win, because the worst case scenario would be if we have a big crash on lap 1 and it sort of breaks up that lead pack. I think we've got 5 or 6 drivers who have got the pace tonight to be able to win this race. Pretty much, you know, all the Alcantech guys, all the Sim Race Sweden guys, they've all got a chance, and then we're going to have a couple of other sorts of rogue entries who might be able to get in amongst those drivers as well. So I just hope that those guys can have a proper 5 or 6 car battle all the way through this 18-minute finale.
Well, Sam, let's find out. As here's your final grid of this evening. Arvidarsson claims pole with Olsen in second. Sandstrom, he lines up alongside Schnabel on the second row of the grid with Martinson and Conor Wagner. And the third row. Rasmussen has the first of the Pro-Am drivers. It's Rolinson on the fourth row with Zenstra and Grant. Grant had a great heat. Can he do the same again? He rounds out your top 10. It's Glamstetter and Jack Reeve, who, again, made great progress, but then fell by the wayside. He's one to watch from 12th place. It's Boberg, Alistair Hay, Matthew Brewer, the first of the AM drivers. He's joined by fellow AM driver Jose Arroyo on the 7th row, the 8th row of the grid. 9th row, it's Edward Pop and Nick Hovarth with Michael Griffin and Josu Alguazari running out his top 20. Of course, Alguazari being a pro driver. Tough for him. Rowan Pario, Smith, Maro and Godolphi going to round out your grid as everyone's up there. And let's get ready to go racing for the final time this evening for Fuji, and everyone trying to shut each other down right now as they head into the inside, trying to squeeze up the wall. Arvidarsson and Olsen just locking out, just preventing anyone from making it through. So there's spinners in the midfield. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cars all caught up. Oh, people around. Wow, what a big incident into turn 1 after everyone in the front got away cleanly. It was so fraught and so competitive in the midfield, but that's really shaken things up because Smith, Gandolfi and Mauro made their way through from the back of the grid. They're at 13, 14 and 12 places respectively into 9th, 10th and 11th. Wow, Sam.
I mean, we haven't got to the final corner yet, so I'm not fully confident in Gandolfi, but what a start for him so far. I mean, that is 14 places gained. Just incredible. Oh, we got an off there, and that's the Alcantech driver of Sandstrom. Oh, come on, Jesper, you need to keep up with the top 2, but he's letting them get away, He needs to really have a couple of nice corners here, otherwise the draft is going to be broken, and the Alcantech guys are going to have to catch up to the top 2 purely on pace, so that could be a big mistake there from the Swedish driver, just running too wide, going through Dunlop corner, tricky on the cold tyres, but that could be maybe the biggest mistake he makes all race, as Reeve is he rounds? He's certainly very slow. That's Rawlinson, actually, who's fairly slow, and then Reeve, I think, did.
I think something's happened to Rawlinson and Reeve because they're flagging up within our software that they've had a collision. I do wonder if it's been together rather than separate incidents, but you see Reeve there just getting easily dispatched up by Boberg and run across the start-finish line. And here we go down into turn 1, and Reeve not even fighting back against the Swede, who just makes his way through. Thank you very much, but it's hard to know where to look right now. Cars all on top of one another. I mean, getting over 4 or 5 tenths is a generous amount of gap right now between so many of our drivers. As we're going to see a replay of the start right now. This is hopefully going to give us some interesting perspective. We look down from the helicopter, Sam. Here we go, and it was just where they all just compacted up one another. They were all coming in.
It was actually the Alcantech guys who initially made contact. I'm not saying it was either of their fault necessarily, but I mean, at first glance, it doesn't look like it was anyone's fault necessarily. As Wagner, that's a slowdown for him.
That is.
We saw another driver get a slowdown earlier on, didn't we? I want to say like Maui maybe got a slowdown around that part of the circuit earlier on in the race. But we also had a couple of changes for the lead. So we had Olsen overtake Arvidsson for the lead down at turn 1 earlier on in this lap. And we also had Smith, I want to say Smith overtook someone for the
Gandolfi.
Yeah, for the pro lead. But they're still well, actually Smith's been able to pull away slightly. Wow, what a change of said. 2 pit lane starts for the guy, and he's up there in 7th place in the A final. Here comes Mario. He is faster than Gandolfi. Oddly, Gandolfi looked way faster throughout the B final, throughout the heats. But it's Mario who is moving up ahead. You cannot put your finger on Gandolfi. He is the enigma in this meeting so far. Glamsetter also just getting ahead of Rowlandson, I believe as well. Rowlandson now down 3 places after that spectacular heat result for him.
Yes, Rowlandson making his way past Glamsetter there. Gandolfi onto the back of Maro. Both of them desperate not to let Smith escape their clutches right now. They're right on the ragged edge. It's 9/10 of a second to the Brit from the American, the Italian, who are charging hard, trying to keep hold of him, keep him in touching distance. As you see, Glamsetter trying to make a bit of progress here against Rowlandson after initial contact. Really struggling right now. But let's take a look at what happened to Reeve. And Rowlandson, wasn't it, who was just ahead of him, Sam? And they're going to make contact like we suspected. Well, oh, there you go. Shut the door on him. But out they both span. They neatly tapped wheels with one another on the exit. And they carry straight on.
Yeah, that was unnecessary. We've been speaking the whole day, haven't we, about how you don't want to overtake into the final corner because then you're setting time onto the pit straight. And that was an overtake at the start of an 18-minute race, so it wasn't the smartest move there, and it worked out very poorly for the pair of them. Now we've got Mario.
That's it, losing a place to Gandolfi.
Yeah, so Gandolfi's back past them, so they're just very evenly matched, it seems, are those two. Gandolfi seemingly getting a bit more confidence out there, but he is very inconsistent, is the Italian, and that is Glamsetter and Rowlandson still battling against one another. Nothing really conclusive about that. I think those guys are going to stay close. Good news is, we have got a race. It's not a 6-car battle for the race win, as I thought it might be. It's a 4-car battle for the race win, because Olsen was able to pull away. He pulled, I think, close to a second, but then Arvidsson has managed to close it back down to about 6/10. If you open up the live timing, you can do by clicking on the link below. It's really helpful to know what the slipstream is like up there, because from this distance back, it's very weak. You really don't gain much. There's not going to be much of a change down the front stretch if Arvidsson doesn't gain much time around these next few corners. But once you get within that 6/10, and all of a sudden, if you're within 6/10 going onto the pit straight, then you could be alongside by the end of it. It's really tight. Boberg has made a mistake at the Dunlop corner.
Wow, he's come off track and clearly had a bit of a spin out there after running strongly and making up a fair few places in that opening lap's chaos. It's all started to come apart for him. Chris Racing, the driver, down to 18th and down 5 places into pretty much the tail end of Pro-Am. But let's take a little look at exactly how it all unfolded right now for him.
It's like Reeve.
He's just dipped a wheel onto the grass. Round he went, and did he keep it out of the wall, Sam? Oh, the light is the contact there.
Yeah, might be a bit of a... I know, sometimes you can hit the wall and get a bit of an advantage. We'll see if that works out for him. Certainly not going to be too negative for his prospects. The actual contact, at least, ooh, that is close. That was Reeve. He's really in the mix of things, isn't he, right now, is Reeve. Apologies, this is Rowlandson and Glamsetter. These two have been alongside pretty much the entire race so far. And yeah, they're just not quick enough to break the jar between the two of them. Reeve catching up. Reeve actually back to where he started, surprisingly, considering that the spin that he had on lap 1. You think where he would have been. Contact once again. It just seems to narrow up heading into that corner, because that's the second time I've seen contact in the braking area heading into Dunlop corner, and Reeve is probably going to slipstream his way past the pair then, by my reckoning, down this next straight. He's in an excellent position.
Wow, it's only been 7 minutes and 25 seconds. It feels like an absolute lifetime. We've had that much drama, that many twists and turns to the story. We are not done and dusted here by any stretch of imagination. There's plenty of racing left to go. What, some 10.5 minutes, and here comes Glamsetter against Rowlandson. But Rowlandson's on the inside, and look how much that Reeve has caught right up onto the back of them as Rowlinson up the inside of Glamsetter there, but as Glamsetter trying to instantly fight back on the run inside to 2. He's going to be on the outside for Coca-Cola. Turn 3, we know you can hold on. Oh, and that was a big cut from Rowlinson, Sam, and I wonder if he's going to have to slow down for that one, because that seemed like a big cut.
He is. You absolutely called it right there. I think if you hit that pole, which isn't really there, it's like an illusion, I think that might be the trigger for it. Although now he seems to be getting back up to pace again, does Rowlinson. He seemed really slow coming out of 100R, and then it seemed like Glamsetter was very slow. And so I think he served it. It was just a very weak slowdown for him. So watch out for that one in the future. If someone does cut, it's not too bad. Sandstrom up ahead of Arvidsson, by the way. So Arvidsson, former race leader, winner last time out at Monza. He's just not got the pace though right now, honestly, Tim. I mean, he was sort of keeping tabs with Olsen, but maybe just a couple of mistakes has sent him back. Olsen now breaking the draft. He's 1.2 seconds ahead of the rest of the field, and Sandstrom really needs Arvidsson here not to fight him, and Arvidsson isn't going to. So I thought Arvidsson maybe would just occupy Sandstrom and let Olsen win this one. But I think Arvidsson fancies winning this one himself, and so he is sort of going to work with Sandstrom, sort of against his teammate Olsen, but I mean, it's all fair games. Everyone wants to win this race.
All fair in love and war, Sam, as well. Rowlinson and Reeve and Glamsetter having a right good go of things. Ramapario is now caught up onto the back of them. 2 Scandinavians versus 2 Brits, so they're going to all gang up on one another. Well, let's find out, but Reeve definitely the man with a bit of momentum right now, because Rowlinson is ahead of Glamsetter after making that progress, dropping behind Rowlinson and Reeve, and Ramapario coming along for the ride and round for the fun. And when they get out onto that start-finish line, that's when we're going to light the blue touch shaper, because they're all tucked up right behind one another. Can we even get a 4 wide here in Japan? Well, we don't have long to find out as they just enter into turn 13, turn 14, then through Net's corner.
Oh no, that's way too much. I was just about to say, do you think Reeve's going to get damage from that? Glamsetter's going to get damage from that. He was completely airborne over the curb. I mean, the few instances we've seen with that, it's not been like a tap with the... oh no, yeah, Reeve's got damage. Reeve has got damage, so he had too much. As Glamsetter got away with it, Glamsetter hit it twice as hard. He elevated about 10 foot in the air.
Reeve's
It's absolutely fine.
Reeve's in, and this is how Rowlinson, because he's got out of the slick draft range of Ramapario and Glamsetter behind as they move around those two. Oh, Pario still just ahead of Glamsetter. The run into turn 1, but I think Pario is going to get it done, or is Glamsetter going to come back past? It is so hard to tell which way this is going to go, and they're still at it as Glamsetter on the inside to Coca-Cola. Holds tight, he tries to squeeze through, and wow, right around the outside goes Pario and keeps hold of 11th place. And I'm sure, Sam, as they came past the camera that was showing Reeve just entering into the pits, I'm sure I could hear the rattling of parts of Glamsetter's car.
That could well be a good shout, as I think we've got another replay of a previous instance going to come up on screen, as we're now got 6 more minutes of this race to go. So this was the airborne mode. Wow. Look at that. Well, it's just crazy how Reeve got more damage than Glamsetter in all that, and you see the behaviour of each car. It was totally different, but just the way that like the steering angle can sometimes be can make the difference. I mean, if you've got all your wheels straight when you hit that curve, it's much less likely to cause damage than if you've got the wheels turning. So I guess, you know, that's just a theory of how you got away with it.
There's not long left, just under 6 minutes. Olsen leads from Arvidsson, Sandstrom in 3rd, Schnabel just starting to fall away a little bit right now in 4th, Martinson in 5th, Wagner ruining that slowdown early on into 6th, Smith, well, up an incredible 15th place, 15 places into 7th, but Gandolfi eclipsing that with 16 as Boberg just trying to hold off Hovarth there. No apologies, that was those two swapping places for 16th, so still plenty of action up and down the field. Gandolfi 8th, Maro 9th, Rowlinson in 10th, and then Glamsetter 11th with Roman Pario. Well, is he actually up into 11th? He's trying desperately to find a way past, but there's contact, but Glamsetter gets away with one once again here, Sam.
That's a bulletproof car. I mean, transport the president in that thing because it's not going to break anytime soon. He is absolutely the Terminator right now, just absolutely storming his way around this track. Rampari now under pressure from Griffin. Griffin top of the AMs, by the way. We haven't really talked about the top of the kind of different classes. Obviously, Olsen leader of the pros. Smith has been leader of the pro-AMs from the start, pretty much, despite the fact that he started down in 22nd place. Within half a lap, he was up in the top 10. And Sandstrom has just got past Arvidsson as well. I think these guys are now fighting. Well, no, or maybe not. Arvidsson actually is sort of not decide to overtake Sandstrom. Gap up to 1.5 seconds now. Sandstrom with a really good lap that time around. He actually took 4/10 out of Olsen. So I think it's best really for Arvidsson, if he wants to win this race, to stay behind. Just an idea potentially that they're trying to leapfrog. So maybe one goes ahead down the straight, and then sort of the momentum is carried by the previous driver. So that could be an idea. Usually that doesn't work. Usually you just end up getting caught up between yourselves. But it's such a long straight here at Fuji that if it's going to work anywhere, it's going to work out.
It is the get out of jail free card. I know we've mentioned it quite a few times, but it's going to help and aid and abet some overtakes and some last ditch attempts. Olsen sitting pretty at the top for Sim Race Sweden Esports. Pro-Am, well, Aaron Smith leads the way, and in AM, Michael Griffin leads the 5 car field, and I tell you what, he's in the chance of moving up a few more places in 14th right now. So he's right to the back of Hay and Glamsetter, but it's all about this battle. 3 cars, 2 podium positions up for grabs, 2nd and 3rd, silver and bronze, and Arvidsson looking to exchange that bronze medal for a silver, and he's going to get that done. And there's contact with Sandstrom. I don't know if you quite saw that there, just as he pulled back across, he just clipped the front right wheel of Sandstrom, and that's backed him right up into Schnabel.
And now Schnabel's saying, mate, your car's completely broken, just let me pass, let me get P3. I think it might be the wise thing to do, because that thing's going to be a tractor down the straights from here on in the race. And so because that's significant front wing damage. I mean, you can see it on screen. And so he's got to give this one up, let Schnabel go ahead, because they're losing so much time. It's up to a second now, up to Arvidsson. Heck, even the cars behind Martinsson and Wagner might be able to get involved. So it's could be problematic.
It could well indeed, but wow, time ticking down. 2 minutes. It's all that remains. We're gonna get in another couple of laps, aren't we? Just looking at the clock right now, this is looking positive for drivers to try and squeeze that little bit more out of the car, and that little bit more to try and get another place here in round 2 of the Apex Racing Academy, the VRS Super Series.
Oh, bump drafting.
I was going to say, is that bump drafting going on down the start-finish straight? Schnabel pushing Sandstrom here to close out that gap to Arvidsson. It's Gandolfi into the pit, Sam.
Oh, don't tell me it's the final corner again. That front wing looks alright, albeit to be fair, I keep on thinking that front wing looks absolutely dreadful, but I think it's just my eyes. He is taking tyres, so it's not just a fast fan unless he's forgotten to untick the tyres. I think we had a Joe who, Raman Perry, underfueled last time as well. Could be seeing that. Here is Raman Perry. He is alongside Hay, and that is Hay ahead. And I think that is a proper move as well for position, because the Scottish driver was a 1.5 seconds quicker on that last tour of the circuit. Raman Perry generally just struggling quite a bit. I wonder if he couldn't have got involved in an instant, perhaps, with Gandolfi, who, by the way, now coming out of the pit lane, he is down to 21st position, is the Italian. It was going so well for him. His race starts in was so good. I think one of the best race starts we've had all year on ARTV, but it's all gone sour as Raman Perry just continues to drop time. He must have damage.
Oh, I think he's gone from bad for worse for Gandolfi. I think he's come off track once again. Wow, not what he would have hoped. Has such a brilliant start, but we're going to see bump drafting once again in Formula cars. Just trying to break the draft behind. That is Martinson trying to break it from Schnabel. We're on board with Sandstrom. This is on board with Schnabel behind, and well, he is pushing Sandstrom along right now. But I don't think they're going to close up with Arvidarsson because white flag in the air. 1 lap left to go here from Fuji in round 2 of the championship. And wow, now surely this is going to be all about the fight between teammates and the fight behind them between Simray Sweden's.
Oh, look at that one. Oh, huge contact. Oh my goodness me. Over on the roof, the closing speed was unreal. That was like an LMP1 car coming across some GTEs, and Raman Perry flying off into the wall. One driver dinked out ahead of him. Raman Perry was trying to overtake the pair of them, and he just had nowhere to go. Huge impact, and it's another disappointing result for Raman Perry after a strong majority of the race. Out in the lead, Olsen is well clear. Martinson and Wagner, who we haven't really seen all night, they are swapping positions for 5th position. They are in the background as the teammates also get in line. I think we're going to see another run to the line here, Tim.
Well, I think we are indeed, Sam. Buckle up because here we go. Not long left to go. Run about, well, quarter of a lap as Olsen is going to take the victory here in round 2. Congratulations to the Swedes. What's going to look like a 1-2-3 for Swedish drivers here in Japan, but Wagner, I think, might well have got past. There's a race with the line. Does Schnabel just lose? Well, across the line of the dead heat. We're going to have another one here. Is Wagner just going to take it from Martinson? Yes, he does. But Sandstrom and Schnabel finishing in identical times there. We're going to have to get that one clarified. Wow, and we're still not done and dusted because there's still close battles. Griffin involved in one, Glamsetter involved in another, and this race is to the line as Griffin going to be a bit too far back from Hayes. Everyone's just separating out and accepting that they can't catch up with the car in front of them. Well, you can hear Glamsetter scraping body panels of that car across the line, Sam. I mean, he's been in the water today, hasn't he?
It was tricky to keep track of everyone who accumulated damage throughout that race, out of the judges who we even saw got damage on screen, let alone all the unseen damage we had. But yeah, I think the sounds were the best inclination of who sort of had issues out there. But Tobias Olsen, a really strong performance from him. He made that mistake back at Monza last week, but he has answered any doubts about his credentials with a fantastic performance tonight. He had the pace over the rest of the field. Once he got ahead with a very strong move on lap 2, he was able to get the gap up to a second. When the other drivers got within the judge, he was then able to extend the gap back out again and took the race win fairly easily. So the 2-time defending champion making himself look like the 2-time defending champion in this round 2 of the season.
Well, we're just going to head into a quick ad break now. We're certainly on the other side where we'll be going through the classified results. We can get that one cleared up between Sandstrom and Schnabel, and also chatting to some of our drivers. back and wow, what a finish. I mean, we asked after Heat 1, 2/1000ths of a second, could it get any closer? I've had a bit of luck. We'll take you through the results now, but it got even, we mention it, Sam, even closer.
It did. Sometimes teammates try to go for like synchronized finishes. I think like Schumacher and Brad Kelly did it one year at Indianapolis. They're not usually very good at it. These guys, absolutely perfect, dead level across the line. They were so evenly matched as well throughout the race, and it was nice to see them properly go out at the end. And then just like 2 positions back, we saw another pretty much dead
Well,
finish.
exactly. It was up and down the field. Let's take a little look through the classified results here from Fuji, and well, it was another absolute classic, to be fair, wasn't it? I mean, as we mentioned, that's 1/1000th separating third and fourth in the end. I mean, Olsen was completely and utterly dominant overall in the grand final. As we just move across there, there we go. Tobias Olsen taking a victory from Arvidsson. And, of course, Schnabel in fourth, but only by 1,000th behind Sandstrom. Wagner, in the end, pipping Martinson for fifth place, with Smith running out your Pro-Am winner after starting from the pits in the first, well, the Heat and the B final. Manages to pull off an astounding result. Yes, helped by the big action. We'll be talking about that shortly. Barrow finishes in eighth. Rowlandson, Hay, Griffin, Boberg, Hovarth, great drive from him. Of course, Griffin running out the winner in the AM category. Glamsetter, Bruin, Algerari, Zvomstra, and, well, Pop. Bit of a disappointment from him, maybe. Some will say Grant, another one of the drivers, caught up as well. Gandolfi pissing at the end there. Really, really putting pace with some great racing from him, and what looked like be a really, really good finish for him as well after being at so many places. Ropario with rounding out the grid then into the retirees with Reeve and Martinson there. I'll tell you what, Sam, I think we said about it after Monza, about, needing a bit of a lie down after that one. No different here whatsoever. It was like we picked straight up from where we left at Monza and just moved it across to Japan, put it down, boom, off we went.
Yeah, I was saying how these circuits are quite similar in terms of they're just slipstream circuits where you can get ahead, but then you can't pull away. That was pretty much the case there, where we saw a couple of pairs of drivers who were just side by side for the entire race. I think Glamsetter and I want to say Gandolfi, maybe, or maybe a couple of other drivers. Just together for 10 minutes straight. One would get past one lap, the other would get past the next lap, and that's all the fun stuff that you have with this type of racing. But what I really enjoyed was the tactical side of it, particularly in the heats, in that Heat 1 in particular, where I think it was Schnabel decided to stay behind going into the final corner, get the run to the line, and managed to pip his rival right onto the line. So it's not just about pace when you have circuits like this, it's also about when you decide to make your moves. And we saw those top drivers, or the drivers who got the best results, they were the experts when it came to that.
Definitely some drivers thinking about things a little bit more compared to what we experienced last week. And we're going to get a chance to speak to a couple of our drivers very shortly. And so it's going to be really fascinating to get their thoughts, because it did look a little bit crazy out there today. Let's have a chat first off to our winner here today, Tobias Olsen. Tobias, can you hear us okay? There we go. There's Tobias. Well, congratulations on the victory. It looked like a little bit of a walk in the park for yourself today. That's when we'll look back at the history books and that's what it might show. But having said that, I'm sure it was anything but for that for you. It seemed to be like a bit of a hard-fought victory.
Yeah, it felt really good tonight. I mean, qualifying was okay, P2. Haven't really found the sweet spot yet in qualifying, but I guess it will come. And heat 2, the first heat there, just pulled away from Wagner. Just felt really good on the race pace. So And moving on to the today final, it was, yeah, Isaac got a good start, and then I managed to pass him on the second lap and just, yeah, pull out that gap and then just stay in equal lap times and not overheat the tires in the last sector. That's kind of the key. I think I was like 10% brake bias forward after the race or something, so just to keep those rears alive.
So it was clearly the bigger challenge. I'm guessing that was even more apparent in the final as well. Well, of course, we have that longer race.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, I'm real happy actually. It feels good to be back on the top spot.
Right, it's great to have you back, Tobias. I know you were definitely one of Sam's picks for good things this season.
Well. These picks are super competitive, so big thanks there, Tobias, for backing me up on that one.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, I feel the field this season is really competitive, and there are some new people as well that seems really fast, so it's really good.
Definitely great to have you on board, Tobias. Before we let go, anyone you want to give a shout out to at all?
SimRaceSweden.com and SimRace Sweden Esports. We have had a good start to this season, so looking forward to continue like this. So, and thanks to you guys. Thanks.
Hey, absolute pleasure when you put on great racing like that as Tobias Olsen, your winner here today. Sam, would you like to have the honours of chatting to our next driver?
I will do. We have got Aaron Smith coming to have a chat with us now. Well, Aaron, we were chatting about this race yesterday when we were broadcasting the Radical Racing Challenge. It seemed tricky for you. A couple of pit lane starts. You finished, I think that's now 5 races in a row now in this championship where you've been starting from the back. And you've won the Pro-Am category. I mean, that was a roller coaster of a meeting for you.
Yeah, the mixed emotions I was feeling, because after Heat 1, I was just so deflated to miss out by 1 position. And I thought starting from the pits in the consolation, it would be nearly impossible to get into the feature race. And I don't know, it just seemed like no one really had like much pace in the consolation, and I managed to grab second. And then that feature, turn 1, I went from last to 9th, I think, just for that utter chaotic turn 1. No idea what happened, but I mean, I'm not complaining. It bagged me a great result, considering, as you said, I had 2 pit lane starts.
Yeah, it's going to take some deconstruction to figure out what happened. It initially seemed like a couple of Alcantech cars collided, but then the craziness afterwards was just absolutely crazy. After that, it seemed fairly relaxed for you. I think you had Mario behind you for the majority of the race. I mean, you had a couple of the other Pro-Ams in fairly tight order. How was it keeping your consistency around this circuit? Because we saw a lot of drivers hit the curbs through that 3rd sector. Was that ever an issue for yourself?
Not really, because I've surprisingly bonded quite well with the circuit, because before this week I didn't even own the track, so I instantly bonded with it the second I drove it, and I just found I was able to be a lot more consistent than a lot of the drivers around me, and especially because I had Connor in front of me, I sort of used him as a bit of a reference occasionally, and obviously you can always trust Connor. I mean, he's a fantastic driver. But yeah, I've actually really enjoyed driving this track, especially with that without the chicane. It just feels a lot more flowing, in my opinion. And yeah, the last sector is really tricky to avoid those curbs, but if you can keep consistent and avoid them, then you're just gonna bag an amazing result, as I did.
Exactly, yeah, 7th position overall, 1st place in the Pro-Ams, and it really does sort of reignite your championship charge. And, well, hopefully no pit lane starts to serve next week, and yeah, we can see you get even further up the order. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to, Aaron?
My team, Delta, I think Brian had quite an unlucky race today, but Connor as well, he had a pretty decent race. Could have been better, but I think for myself, I did probably the best I could have done. Couldn't really have asked for more. To everyone at Apex, these series are run amazingly, especially with the studio broadcast now. You guys do an amazing job with that. So yeah, thank you guys.
Awesome, thank you. And we will, yeah, hopefully speak to you next time.
Thank you guys.
So that was Aaron Smith, and I think we've got Jesper Sandström lined up to him.
We have indeed. Jesper, well, Congratulations in some ways. Commiserations in another. I know you would have absolutely loved the victory here today. Definitely, when we spoke to Tobias Olsen earlier, he said tyres played a large factor. Was that something you may be struggling with a little bit here today in Japan?
No, I wouldn't really say so. I built a setup myself and I went with a pretty soft rear end just to maintain the tire life out of the sector 3, because that sector is real harsh on the rears. It was just other circumstances that put me out of contest.
I mean, obviously the final race, there was, I don't know how much you would have caught of it in your mirrors. I mean, everyone coming careering in like a freight train. Did you see any of that, and did it unsettle you coming into turn 1?
Not really. I just had my eyes to the sides and in front of me. I mean, if someone comes from behind, I can't really do much about it.
But that is very true. That is very true indeed. And obviously, looking ahead of a week's time, obviously Okayama coming. Is that a track that you feel that you might have a better result out of?
I really like Okayama, but I can't be disappointed with these results that in the slightest. It's my first ever podium in an Apex series, so I'm very happy.
Excellent. That's great to hear. Yes, but before we let you go, anyone you want to give a shout out to at all?
A huge shout out to Lenny and the team. Lenny for bump drafting me when I had the wing damage after the contact with Arvidsson in T1. He probably saved me from being chased down by Connor and Mattis.
There you go. You can't say fairer than that. A bit of teamwork. And I mean, one quick question before we let you go. Was it choreographed and designed to be that close coming across the line? 1/1000th of a second separating yourself and Lennart Schnabel?
It's been close races today. I mean, my heat race I lost out with 4 thousandths, so playing on the margins today, it seems.
Definitely seems to be that way. That's for Sandstrom, who picked up 3rd place here today, Fuji. And Sam, I'll let you have the last interview.
Yes.
Something nice like that.
Yes, well, thank you very much, Tom. I think we have Simon Bam and Perry in with us. Simon, can you hear us?
I can hear you guys. Is my microphone loud enough this time?
It is the perfect volume.
All right.
Congratulations out there today. Well, in the end, a little bit of a disappointing end to that A final, but boy, that was like action-packed.
I feel like I'm cursed right now. Like the last lap again, and that was this time. Last time it might have been like partly my fault, but this time I was definitely not at fault, and it just feels really bad because I was gaining so many positions, and yeah, I just hope I can convert my pace into results sometime soon.
Yeah, we're just seeing the replay right now. Whenever it's on the back screens for us sitting in the studio, it's quite disorientating because you're just absolutely doing a ton of flips. It was insane the straight line speed you had. So you were gaining loads of speed on the cars ahead. Do you think that was because of damage for themselves? I mean, was that your setup? I mean, because you were just a bullet, you were going to clear the pair of them if it weren't for that contact.
Yeah, I was definitely really fast. I have no idea why, because I'm running really high downforce. That's like how I found all my pace this week, is just through downforce in the setup. So I have no idea how exactly I was gaining so fast. I saw Glamsetter go over the sausage curbs earlier, but I never saw Hay getting any damage, so that was weird. But I think I was definitely up for like a P10 finish there, but yeah.
And how have you found sort of the series so far? Most importantly, sort of the format, because it's very different to the official series. You've been sort of on the edge of, qualifying for the kind of A final both times and just about getting through. How is it like driving in those heats? I mean, do you approach it differently from the heats to the B final to the A final?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really say I have that much heat experience now because my heat race, I don't know if you guys saw that, but I got let's just say destroyed on the launch because some car didn't launch correctly in front of me, and I had to slam on the brakes and I got hit from behind, and I was 2 laps down the entire race. So I can't really say much about the racing in the heats, but in the B final it was definitely fun. The format, like the quicker races, it allows me to push much more on every lap, and it provides some fun racing, and yeah, I'm really enjoying the series so far.
Awesome, fantastic to hear. Simon, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, my brother is on a leave of absence from the military right now, and he came down here to watch me and help me out with some engineering stuff, I guess. So I'll give a shout out to him. He's my twin brother, sitting right next to me right now.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming and having a chat with us, Simon, and best of luck for the remainder of the rounds.
Yes, thank you guys so much. Let's hope for a top 10 finish in an A final sometime soon.
Definitely. Best of luck for that one. Yeah, Tim, really interesting to get some of the responses from the drivers there, and yeah, sorts of understanding some of the extra factors that were going on with the tyres and, of course, sort of the difficulties of this Fuji circuit.
There were definitely some mad moments out there, weren't there? I mean, obviously we saw that careering, crash across the start-finish line, non-start, and then of course the run down to turn 1 as well, where we had that big incident where everyone just compacted up with one another in the final, and really transformed the pace. But I mean, walking away from here, got to feel a bit sorry for Gandolfi. It just could not catch a break. Got himself right up to the top, and then something would happen and he'd be back down to the bottom again.
If it weren't for that last corner, he would have won tonight, Gandolfi. I mean...
I think he would have done.
Yeah.
I think he would have done.
I don't want to be too harsh, I think, but it was just the coincidence that every time we cut to him to do that final corner, something different would go wrong each time. But... I mean, watch out for him in the later rounds. Certainly one of the most exciting drivers we have in this series. And yeah, if he had a bit more consistency, he'd be right up there. And that Pro-Am class as well, maybe the best class we have, I think. I think the AMs are all right. I mean, the 2 rounds that we've had so far in the AMs have been totally opposite. I mean, like, for example, Charney tonight was probably like the 7th or 8th fastest amateur driver compared to last week when he was the 1st or 2nd fastest. But I think the Pro-Ams in particular are really entertaining to watch because it's seriously a very competitive field where we've got 3.5K drivers battling against one another. And someone like Gandolfi, who I think has got the pace to be at the top of that, if you can just get that consistency, you could really see a championship charge for him, but it's not going to be easy against the likes of Reeve and, of course, tonight, Smith.
And let's not forget as well, Sam, that in Heat 2, there were only 2 Pro-Am drivers that progressed through. So actually, in the final, we missed out quite a few of those Pro-Am drivers who just didn't make the cut, where, of course, only the top 4 progressed from the B final to the Grand Final. It's, as you said, Sam, it could go absolutely any way whatsoever, and you can see it down on the screen behind us right now. That long start-finish straight played such a large part of the story here today. I mean, there were people going, coming out of Panasonic, the final corner, making the move early on, and then getting re-overtaken pretty much into turn 1. It was crazy.
Yeah. If you got past sorts of, I want to say I think there's like a gantry or bridge over the circuit. If you're kind of getting past before then, you're going to be re-overtaken. And you can't defend the inside as well into that turn 1 because it's so wide. You could probably fit 10 odd F3 cars alongside one another heading into turn 1. So you can't actually defend the inside line. You're always going to have that dive kind of response back heading into the opening corner. So that was a function that we saw a lot out there tonight. I think the lack of chicane as well, we're just seeing the turn 10 there, the lack of chicane really made a difference as well because it put a lot more emphasis on that turn 1. Instead of thinking, okay, I can just wait till maybe that 3rd sector, maybe even pull away during the 3rd sector as well. Instead, that was sort of a lost opportunity. It was one less braking zone. And really overtaking into turn 10, I think, was just a no-go tonight. Like we saw, when we did see it, like Smith tried it, I remember one time in the B final, it just doesn't work because the other drivers just go and drive you off the circuit every single time.
They attempted and they failed. Yeah. I think it's been safe to say. But, well, that's pretty much all we've got time here from today. But make sure you check out on Monday night, the late Apex. We're back for episode 2. They gave us a second chance, Sam. I mean, I don't know whether that was brave or stupid. You decide, but no, we're we're checking out lots of brand new hardware that's coming out, and also the new Paris-Dakar game as well. So make sure you tune in for that, as well as the return of myself taking on Sam in another brand new challenge. So make sure you tune in for that one. But wow, what a race it has been here today at Fuji from the Apex Racing Academy VRS Super Series. Can we have yet more action and drama in a week's time? Well, make sure you tune in when we'll be live from Okayama from myself, Tim Cox, and Sam Fitzpatrick. Goodbye.